to start off asking about the development of the script and where you really came up with the idea for the film and that process of getting the script together overall.
Okay, sure. The idea, I've said before that for a while now, I have wanted to make a movie or something with my sister since I was in film school. And once I had watched this movie called The Tribe, I kind of got the inspiration to go into my sister's world of where she lives now, which is in the daytime, she goes to a center where her and her friends and other people with disabilities kind of go to, and her community in her town, and also to the house where she kind of lives now, and so anyway, yeah. So basically, it came out of like, hey, what can I make with my sister in this environment, and what would that look like? Because I make horror movies, so if I put her in a horror movie, what's that going to feel like? And in the beginning, I was just thinking it would be a kind of a documentary. I would follow her around and like shoot for a month, and then just kind of start to stitch together some kind of narrative, and then shoot again to kind of fill in the gaps. But then eventually, I was like, no, this has got to be like a straight normal production, and do it in like 14 days. And so anyway, I thought, okay, I have to come up with a scenario that works with where she's at. And I have to write the script in a way that that I use what she can do, because she's, her developmentally, I mean, she's definitely a severe case of Down syndrome. So what she could do would be limited. I can't have her speak because she can only say a couple of words, that type of thing. So I built the script around what I know she does, in her normal day. And I came up with this concept of an outside character that comes into her world. And that character is, of course, trying to go, she's compelled to help people, but every time she helps people, the devils come, and it's about what she, how she tries to get out of that situation or not. So.
Besides working on the script, I also wanted to ask about then going on to direct the film and what that experience was like of going from writing into directing and just your overall approach once filming began to approach directing the film as well.
So I've, this is my second feature. I've done shorts as well. Directing is always completely different. Like I always said that the writer side of me hates the director side of me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you get out into the real world to actually have the things in the script happen, it changes a lot. And with this movie, it was going to be even crazier. And I knew that, because I knew that what I had written, that it may not actually come about, how I'd written it, because I quickly realized once we got there, started shooting with my sister and like everyone else, even the people that were non-actors, which is everybody but Katie, the main lead, that I had to kind of get the essence of the scene and maybe not the exact moments that I had written already. And if you become kind of married to exactly what you've written, you can come up with kind of problems because you're not being open to the situation. And a lot of times this situation would prove to be even better than what I wrote. That's what you hope for. You hope that there's magic that happens, there that you didn't plan for. And so the other complication with this movie as well was that I was the cameraman, because I just knew I couldn't bring in like a full camera crew and a big camera and be in this environment that was alive. It's just these aren't like film sets that I'm in. These are real places, and that have things still going on around them. So I just kind of knew I was going to have to be the cameraman as well. So I was having to kind of do triple duty. I was thinking about the script, I was thinking about the acting, and I was thinking about technical stuff with the camera. So it was definitely a wild experience and a weird, a weird one as well, to kind of go through. And then of course I was the editor as well. So that's like a whole nother level of storytelling and manipulation of what's taking place. And so it's weird. It was very cool to kind of wear all those hats together.
And also speaking about Katie as well, and I also wanted to ask about the casting of her and Larry as well, and what that process was like of bringing the two of them as well on board for the film.
Katie was funny because Katie was my first actress in what I call professional short, what I made right before I made Jugface. And she's actually in Jugface as well. And so, of course, I know Katie. And once I started thinking about the concept of this, the idea, I just knew I was going to have to be very, very comfortable with whoever I cast in the lead role. And I needed it to be someone local. And I just, and Katie was just obvious. So before I had even written the script, I actually called her and said, I said, Katie, I've got a script and this is what it's about, and you're the main lead. And she was like, okay, sounds great. And what's funny is the way I kind of pitched the movie, in the end, it's more of a positive ending than what actually happens and what actually ended up happening in the script. And so she didn't know that until she read it, and she was like, oh my gosh, I love it, but man, it's dark. And so and then of course, yeah, in the screenplay, of course, I always wanted to work with Larry again. He's an idol of mine, and he was great in Jugface, and we've been friends ever since. And so I even, in the script, the character's name is Larry. I had always wanted him to be in it, and so yeah, so he of course agreed to it. Thought it was a cool little project, and he was only here for a couple of days, of the shoot anyway. So so he agreed to it, and I'm thankful. So it was very cool to have him back.
Once the two of them came on board to star in the film, what was that experience like, especially working with Katie and building her character throughout the film as well?
I'll say that one more time.
Yeah, working with Katie and Larry, and especially once they became attached to the film, and really working with them and building their characters for the film.
Well, Katie, it's of course it's always an experience about what the actress or actor interprets as the movie, because a lot of time people can see two different things, like when they read the same script. And so it's kind of always about getting on the same page about what I think is going to be best. You never want to limit the actor or actress and what they bring to it at all, because that's the magic, really. But you want to help guide it. And so it's for both of them, it's always about talking about what they feel the character's doing and what their motivation is. And of course with Larry, it was a lot less, because his character it's just kind of this creepy cult leader guy. And once he kind of understood where I was going for, it was it's pretty right on. But with Katie, it's just always a journey through understanding what I want, what the story is asking for, and what she's bringing to it. And I don't know if I can tell you any specifics that happened. It's just a constant working I think there was one thing where I guess since she was working with people with disabilities and people non-acting, it caused her to do a little bit of kind of nervous talking, like a little too much talking, a little too much ad-libbing. And that's the one thing I had to kind of pull back on, because I was like, we're not going to have a place to cut easily if you're always kind of talking. And it was kind of just this nervous, she was trying to fill the gaps, which she could feel was dead air, basically. And I was like, they're okay, say a little bit, but you have to kind of reel it in a little bit for me, so for in the edit, so they can kind of make the best kind of cuts in the scene.
And also speaking about the editing, I also wanted to ask about that experience, and once production finished up, what that process was like of putting the final version of the movie together as
well. Initially, I was not going to edit the movie. A buddy of mine is an editor, and I'd always wanted him to do it because I just wanted someone else's take on my material. Sometimes you're too close to it. And, but anyway, he had a baby, and I quickly realized too, once I was looking at the footage, that I couldn't explain to him what I thought should happen because we have the script to go by, and I mostly did that. But I knew there was going to be a certain amount of deviation from that and experimentation of with the flashbacks and different things like that. And I was like, I just can't really explain that, so I'm going to have to edit this. And yeah, and so of course I'd done editing before, but I never edited a full feature. I think back when Jugface was being edited in the very beginning, I put together a rough cut of the movie, but it'd been whatever 10 years, or not 10 years, 8 years since I had edited, and I was like, oh great, I'm going to just jump into a whole feature here. This is going to be interesting. But I mean, it went fairly smoothly. It was for me, it was like another layer of creative control, and that was really special for me. So it was fun.
And also, I wanted to ask about also being one of the producers on the film as well, and how you maybe balanced directing with producing, especially while you were filming the movie.
Well, first off, I hate producing. It's like the reality of making a movie is like, it's crushing in a way, because, for me as the writer director, I want it so bad to be perfect how I want it to be. But there's realities that you have to deal with that are tough sometimes. And to wear that hat too, it wasn't, luckily, Ashley Sneed was the other producer. And once we started shooting, she took over all those roles, thankfully. And I had to just, do my other 3 jobs basically on set. But beforehand, it's always nerve-wracking because I need this location. I need these things to happen so bad. And this was such a personal film that, that's not a good setup. Like, it's like you're almost desperate to get the location or just make this movie happen. But, I shot the movie in my hometown, and everyone that I dealt with, no one told me no, which was wild. And so it made that part easier, even though it's just so stressful trying to get it all pulled together. And, because you have a shoot day, like we're shooting here, and just kind of like putting all the things together. It's not my strong suit. I'm more the just creative type, and I don't like to deal with harsh realities or money or all those things. But I did have to do it with this one for sure. So this is a small scale, so I could pull it off, but I prefer not to do it.
And speaking about the locations, I also wanted to ask about that experience as well, and if it was actually filmed in like the care facility where your sister lives, and what that experience was like just in general, finding the locations where you shot the film overall as well.
Okay, so a lot of the houses in it are all owned by my one friend, and he's like a real estate kind of guy. We call him a slumlord, but he's not really. But we joke with him. But so he has a lot of like very creepy houses. He has a bunch of like ready to make a horror movie in houses, and so that was kind of like those houses. But yeah, the main thing when I wrote the script, I was thinking I didn't have the script written. I just had the idea. And I went to the head of the facility where my sister goes to in the daytime, and said, this is the idea I'm thinking. Would it be possible for me to shoot here? Because for me to have the movie be made, I have to have that. I have to have the facility where she's at, and I have to have access to where she lives. You can fake some of that, but I just want it to be as real as it could be. And once I got her permission, then I said, okay, well, in a month, I think it was going to be like 2 months, we're going to start shooting. And I said, I'll show you a script in a month. And I wrote it, fairly quickly. But so yeah, it was, I knew all the locations already pretty much, or like I said, my friend, had them. So it was fairly easy to find to a certain degree.
And also, I wanted to ask about bringing the film to the different film festivals where it played, and what that experience was like of being able to share the movie through those festivals as well.
Well, because of COVID and everything, it kind of got cut short. Like with Jugface, it was about a whole year worth of festivals, and this was just really a few months. But it's always, wild to watch the movie with an audience, because me as the writer, director, editor, or whatever, I'm desensitized to a lot of it. To me, it's just moving pieces in the end, and it's kind of hard to feel it emotionally. You don't really do that until you watch it in a theater with people, and you kind of realize, oh my God, this moment is so intense. I didn't really think about it in that way. But we showed it in Nashville first, and that was kind of a broad audience, and it went over really well. And then we went to the Knoxville Horror Film Fest, and that was the first horror festival. And what was wild is the horror community can be kind of conservative in a way in their tastes, and a lot of time they like it. They like horror movies to be fun. They like the experience of them, but they want it to be a little bit light. And this movie is definitely not light. It's very heavy and very intense the whole time. So this is a festival, and so they had been watching movies all day that were fun or they can enjoy, and then my movie starts, and it's like the needle scratch basically. I remember I got done. People were very uncomfortable. They left the theater and came back, and or they didn't come back. And when I was done, and I went to do the questionnaire, the Q&A. One of the filmmakers, another filmmaker that I knew there, they just had this look on their face like they were stunned, like they just couldn't, like I had beaten them up or something. And so that was kind of, I thought it would be embraced by the horror community. In that setting, I thought, oh, it's going to play great here. But it's just a really intense movie, and it's a lot of images that people aren't comfortable with seeing. And so you put in the context of these other movies that are kind of fun, and you can put a distance between yourself and them, even though they're intense. And I kind of shook people up. It did play at a festival called the Other Worlds Film Festival in Austin, Texas. And that was really interesting too, because it was not just a horror community, group that was there. It was also sci-fi. And for whatever reason, I think it played best there. And I don't know exactly why that was. I don't know if it's because of the demographic of the sci-fi, that they were more open to a different experience, that they didn't have something that they expected to take place, I guess. So.
And with the film's upcoming official release as well, and having the movie come out on demand, what's that experience been like as well, of securing that official release and being able to share the movie virtually with horror fans as well?
Well, that's the whole point, is to get it out into the world. And with Jugface, it was so quick. It was like a real whirlwind with that one. And with this one, it took a little bit of time to find the right person or the right company. And once I did, I felt very good about the hands that I was in. And it's always nervous to have, because it's very exposing to do any type of work, creative work, and to put it out for people to talk about. Because it ends up being not even about you anymore and just about the work, but it's hard to not take it personally. So there's a certain amount of anxiety that I'll have for sure during the launch of it and over the life of it. So, and I guess before the social media age, you just had like the reviews and the newspapers to worry about. And now it's just like a constant, influx of people talking about it, when something comes out online. So it's pretty wild, but like I said, it's in the right hands, and I'm excited about getting it out into the world.
Okay, I think that was mainly it, but thank you again for taking the time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks again.